All right, so this is the continuation. Basically, making sure that I'm not yelling too loud. Making sure, at least making sure that noise control. Yeah, that's not so bad. Yeah, well, making sure that whatever I had for Equinox in the previous video, which I wasn't talking at all, I was just doing missions and showing the video, testing the build. I wasn't sure about the Equinox build because it's been like 2 years since I've actually used Equinox. The full 2 years. I haven't used her slash him since 2020. And that's a while ago if you think about it. So I had given this Warframe, I believe, um, 4 formers like 2 years ago. And just recently this year I gave it another former. Or should I say, last video I leveled up a bit, but I didn't deform it prior to that video. This video is purely on finding where a suitable Equinox build will be prior to subsuming another Warframe and then exchanging her ability kit, which are these four. Figuring out which is the best to subsume and replace the ability kit with. Um, I believe the first ability is probably the most useless one, but the first ability is necessary for use of through all abilities. So if you get rid of the first one, it kind of makes the other all three of them obsolete, because they're all dependent on the use of the first ability. So that's out the window for the first ability. So the true replacement abilities are the second, the third, and obviously you can't get rid of the fourth ability, which is the ultimate ability, because I believe you're not allowed to do that. At least their fourth ability cannot be replaced. Their ultimate ability cannot be replaced. At least that's how they said it is supposed to be. Now, recent updates might have got rid of that in total. So if someone actually replaced her fourth ability with another ability, and that's a possibility to do that for something like Nyx's Warframe, replace her fourth ability with another ability, then I could see that becoming a possibility. But from since subsume became a thing, the fourth ability was never being able to be replaced unless recent updates state that it can be so. So I don't know. So it might be recent updates. Who knows? So I'll have to find out for myself. I really have to pay attention to sometimes when I'm saying certain things, because there are always people like listening in at doors and stuff. Like I may actually be living in this place, but there are walls within certain areas that people like. It's weird. There, no matter if you're living in an apartment or you're living in a dorm or anywhere you're living, the moment you're talking, people, strangers or other tenants walking by would always want to be sneaking and putting their heads to the wall if something sounds too loud. Because there are creepy people like that in the world. People that cannot mind their own business. So you always have to be paying attention. There are weirdos like that in this world. Period. There are weirdos like that that exist everywhere. It's like within their core of themselves, they cannot be happy with themselves. They have to know what other people are doing. There are freaking weirdos that don't belong in this world. But that's not what this setting up certain things. And the weird part about it is these weirdos don't mind anyone calling them a weirdo. That's the weirdest part. They don't mind that someone thinks of them as a weirdo. That's what makes them a weirdo. that they don't mind. They could deal with you calling them a weirdo. They could deal with you calling them a pervert. They could deal with you calling them an eavesdropper. They could deal with that because it's like water off a duck's back. That's what makes them a weirdo, not the fact that they're doing it, but the fact that they're willing to accept that someone's saying that to them and it just water off a duck's back. That's what truly makes them the weirdo, not the fact that they're just doing it, which is weird and does make them a weirdo, but the fact that they're willing to accept and deal with certain things like that makes them the true weirdo. So it's bizarre, man. It's like I always have to record at a certain time because there are weirdos everywhere. Um, One other thing. So with regards to Equinox, I have to say I really want to throw on the Umbra Forma, um, Umbra Intensify, and Umbra Vitality. Um, but that's for tank. See, this is I put this as tank survival, but this I believe what I have here is best for an all-rounder, not for a tank survival. Yes, adaptation is needed for tank survival. Yes, because this is an Equinox, she needs a lot of efficiency. And yes, you want something like a flow or prime flow on, and you obviously need health on. And since Equinox is a Warframe based on range, you're gonna want to have some range on, or maybe you don't. But her main thing is that she needs efficiency, um, at least a decent amount of efficiency. She needs adaptation and she needs vitality. These are the two that you will need if you're going to be a tank, more than anything. And obviously also flow. So one, two, three are the three ones you will need more than anything else. And then these other one, two, three, four, fifth slot could be slotted in for anything. That's for tank survival. So as a default, the defaults will always be you need vitality on, or you need something that'll give you a lot of health on. So vitality will always be on as a primary, regardless of what build you're going for. All rounder, range, tank, stealth, no matter what you're doing. Vitality is something you will have to have on. The next one you'll also want to also have on. You'll also want to have the adaptation on, regardless of what build you're going for, because God forbid if they're not low level, if they're not from level 1 going on to level 30, you're gonna probably get killed once you get past the 50s if you're not paying attention to your surroundings. And this makes you stay alive for about a full 20 seconds, regardless of what elements you're dealing with. Not so much towards, um, well, towards whatever type of damage you're going, resistance to that of the damage type. So if bullet damage type, you're resisting bullet damage type for 20 seconds. So it's always necessary to have this on, regardless. And of course, flow is something that's an obvious that must be put on. If you don't have regular flow, you put on prime flow. So these three are the standards that you will have on any Warframe, because all Warframes operate on energy. So beyond even health and adaptation, you will always need energy more than anything. You'll need energy more than you need anything. So as a default, you will always put this in there because energy is used for everything. Energy is used for to replace and to repair your health. And energy is used for you to cast your ability. Energy is used for you to, uh, I guess you could say, to lessen bleed out. Energy is used for you to do your propeller and parkour type of stuff. But it's such a small amount is used for those things that you don't even notice it because they're so small and minuscule. But when you're taking heavy damage, majority of that damage is getting sucked out of your energy to repair your body with that health by using the energy. So energy in a way is more important than vitality. And this is for when you're going to higher level missions. However, if you're just going starting off the game, um, more than anything, you will need vitality more than energy. Because the more health you have, the more you could tank through a mission before you die. So you'll obviously need health before you need energy. and then energy would come in second, or it's vice versa, energy coming first and then health second. And then you would get something like, if you want to survive longer, adaptation. But before adaptation even became a thing in this game, um, most people just went towards three things, and those three things were health, energy, and efficiency. Now, since Prime Flow came out, you no longer really need a streamline or efficiency anymore, because Prime Flow had more than enough energy for you to cast your ability more than once, at least two, three, or four times before it completely ran out. And since the Arcane Energize was also introduced into the game um, back in the day, you no longer have to worry about see, tempo, ultimatum. And since Energize was introduced once Planes of Adelan came out, and you could get Arcanes from Energize, you no longer have to worry about running out of energy. But since this only gives 150 energy back, then this mod would be pointless to have on. You want your Prime Flow to be full once this activates, so this will get all the way to 150 all over again. So once these two are in your kit, an Arcane Energize, Max Out Arcane Energize, and a Flow, Max Out Flow, then these are the three that you would use towards your survival. And then stuff later on that comes in later in the game, if you don't want to depend on Streamline for flow, because what it is when Arcane Energize came out, the whole point of using Streamline or fleeting expertise wasn't like pointless, but it became not really necessary anymore, unless the frame really burns through energy a lot or you burn through energy a lot. So let's say, for hell's sake, you do burn through energy, then you will need something like this to sustain at least 50% more energy. Or let's say you need 60% more energy added to the already efficiency of standard efficiency of 100. So now you have 60% of efficiency towards every 150% energy that's within your kit. So you're saving a lot of energy there, but at the same time, you're taking away from your duration. And that's the whole point of having duration in regards. It's simply there as a counter. So if you don't have fleeting in there, you put, if you don't have fleeting in there, you don't need this. You just put streamline, and then you're good. And then you have your bill right here. You have your standard duration. You get to save at least 30% efficiency, which is not really much to think about it, but you don't get to suck out your duration period. And you don't get to use another mod slot. So that two things happen. One, you get to keep your standard 100, and two, you don't get to use an extra mod slot. So in a situation like that, you could then use that extra mod slot to put something like a stretch on. You don't really need it, but now that you have that extra mod slot, you could put in that extra mod slot, not um, not the continuity or prime continuity in. You could simply add in more strength, or if you don't want to add in more strength, you could put another mod in that will give you even more energy for your all-rounder build. Like over time you take damage, you will put this in for even more energy, because this basically states converts 45% of damage on health to energy. So this is more effective than giving yourself more strength, and it's more effective than having more duration if you're not using fleeting expertise, because then you'll be able to have this on, and then even if this runs out of saving, like if it sucks for just saving 30, you'll always be, it's more like 30 and 45 together. You will always don't have to worry about that extra 30, because now you have a mod to give you extra 45. And that's one thing. The second thing like if you truly want additional strength, which you need for an Equinox build, um, if you're planning on killing enemies really fast, you would want to have on, um, in this situation, since I really want to give myself a higher boost of strength, I put on Umbras. Let's say for instance I had on Umbra mods here and here. That takes up a lot of my capacity right here. But at the same time, it boosts my standard strength to a whopping 55, whereas the standard would would just get it to a 30, get my grave one, my standard one to a 30, and obviously the augur secrets will not only get my abilities to a 125, like 24% extra strength, but 80% of energy spent is converted to shields. So even though the other one gives me like tar boost, but that's only when you're fighting sentience. So that's kind of useless in a way if you're not fighting sentience. But this one allows you to convert those unused energy or used up energy into shields if, like, say your shields go down at a critical moment and you're about to die. So this would be the like little boost in strength that you need rather than just to put on something like um, you know, intensify. It's not better than 55%, but at the same time you don't have to worry about your shields going down or putting on, like, say an arcane for shields because it's converted here. Now, the next thing you will want to put on is, if you're going for an all-rounder build, it's like I said, adaptation. And where was it? Um, yeah, vitality. Vitality. And 1, 2, and 3 primaries are all there. And then these are all the secondaries. Well, actually, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Those are the primaries: adaptation, vitality, flow, and arcane energize. And then the secondaries are here: um, under adrenaline, augur secrets, streamline. And so your last two will be dependent on what you're actually going for in a mission. So as a standard, these all these mods should be your standard within your kit. If you're doing a mission and if you're trying to save energy and as well as cast your ability multiple times. But like I said, it's best to, if you're going to be casting a lot, you will need a lot of efficiency in order to use your abilities. But this will lower your duration period. So in a situation like that, you would just counter it with fleeting expertise. Now, it would boost up your duration to um, 95 rather than having at 40, which means it's only 5% lower than the standard duration of 100, which is not bad. So this is what you would go for if you're building a standard Equinox that hasn't been subsumed and hasn't been umbred. Like, this will be the set that you go for something that's not been subsumed and something that's not umbred. Now, in addition to that, it's best to always have, if you're running with other people, a decent amount of range. And range is very important for an Equinox build because if you're bound to have certain people in your party that are going to run outside of your zone of aura effect, which means you need to help other people within your party that, based on your buffs affect their warframes as well. And as long as you have a stretch of 45, that's a standard for an all-rounder build, you should be fine. Now, if you're untrustworthy towards that, then you would add something like Cunning Drift, which will make your distance a 160 range rather than a 145. Um, but I would go against something like this because, as if this is just an all-rounder build, then the 145 would go perfectly well. Now, if you're doing a defense, or if you're not doing a defense, you're doing an extraction or excavation or mobile defense, or anything that has to do with you staying in a specific area for a while, and then someone's encrypting something, you have to defend the target. Anything that has to do with an enemies coming towards you rather than you moving through certain areas and killing certain things, you will want to have vigilant pursuit on, because then you'll be able to see enemies. 30% chance, 30% additional bonus towards, not a chance, but 30% additional radar scan for enemies in the air. So where you couldn't have seen it before, you're now able to see even 30% more of your enemies that are going to be popping up. So this is very helpful for higher level missions. Not so much for all round missions, but for higher level missions. Another one that's very important for higher level missions, and once you get past a certain level, you're going to need prime sure-footed on, because with prime sure-footed on, you won't get a lot of knockdowns. And once you knock down, enemies can slash you, cut you, stab you, and it'll take you a while for you to jump back up. Now, if you take at least 2 or 3 hits while you're getting up, you're automatically dead. So this is more important than vigilant, the vigilant mod, vigilant radar, in a way. But this is mostly used for when you're really fighting higher level enemies, when they're constantly doing knockdowns. And I mean constantly, like every 20 seconds they're doing a knockdown. That's when this becomes an important thing, because there are enemies that have aura that does knock down, whether you're in the air or whether you're on the ground, because it's their aura of effect of their exploding knockdown. It has nothing to do with the fact that they're on the ground and they knock you down while you're on the ground. You could be jumping in the air, and the power will still blast like a wave all around them and knock you out of the air. So that's where this is probably more important than anything when it comes to long survivals. But if you're not doing a long survival and it's only an all-round build for any enemy going um, from level 1 all the way to level 80, or even from level 1 all the way to level 100 enemies, then it's fine just to have a simple vigilant radar on, or vigilant pursuit on, right here, because then that'll work fine and perfect for you, and they'll be more helpful for your team, because now you know where the enemy is, and you could start shooting them and destroying them and slashing them before they even do their knockdown effect. Or at least you know where a whole bunch of them are piling up and coming towards you, and you kill them based on their range attacks, rather than wait for them to come to you and have to deal with them doing knockdown effects once they're within range. So this is another one that's very good. Um, so as an all-rounder, I would throw this in, because it's helpful for lower level going to high level missions, rather than you need extremely high level prime sure-footed for long survivals, which are more important in this one. And then that leaves your last mod slot to be whatever it is you want. So all the ones that you see here are essential for your survival. Now, if you believe you don't need this much efficiency, because you're going to be generous with your casting, plus you have under adrenaline, you can always get another fleeting expertise mod and get it almost up to its max level, and at the same time save yourself time and hassle by just having 50% efficiency rather than 60. And then always have your duration in the good, because then if you have your duration in the good, then you don't have to worry about the duration period for your first form to duration for your second ability in 23 seconds, because anything that's below 20 is going to hinder you. The standard for Equinox is that she should always have her abilities in the 20s. Every single one should be in the 20s when it comes to duration periods. If it's below 20s, it's no good. Eventually, it would cause you problems later on down the road, especially once you start to climb for higher level enemies. Now, it's not bad if it's at 95. In fact, it's not bad at all, and you can survive pretty much easy with 95. Because see, you're still in 20s, And this here is still at 20, and this is still in 20. So the 95 isn't bad at all. And if you just want the extra 10% energy, which you'll probably need based on the situation that you're in. But as long as you have Hunter Adrenaline on, you have Flow on, and you have Arcane Energize on, you're good unless you're wasting out your energy ridiculously without using your guns or your slashing. Your powers are simply made for in situations that you need to use them. It's not something that you're supposed to be using every single time, often, over and over again. Only when you need to use it, you use it. Or when you're leveling up, that's the only time you use it over and over when you're leveling up. Because then you have to get those powers the way they need to be. So the last one, the last slot will be completely up to you. You leave that completely up to your imagination. And based on your shielding, I guess you could add more shield if you desire. Or you could add a mod that could ignore shielding or help with shielding. Or if enemy are casting like elemental damage on within their bullets, making their bullets have elemental damage, then you'll need something with more armor because they'll have to eat through your armor to get to your health first. So not only are they going to take down your shields, but if they manage to take down your shields, the damage will go directly to your armor first and then to your health after, and which is most likely going to happen once you start getting stronger. So shield doesn't matter much in this game. Having high armor and enough health is what matters, unless you have a way to replenish your shield fast, which there is. So it really depends on your play style. For instance, if you really want to make sure your shields go up faster, you have 90% shields recharge. It's not 100% guaranteed, but it's 90% shield recharge, which means almost instantly, after your shields went completely down, it'll take you like 3 seconds before they start going back up again. Maybe even less, like 1 second. And you could do the same thing for up here as well. If you don't need Vigilant Pursuit on, what you could do is, where's the mod? Okay, so it's 9 in this one. Alright, so I thought I had a mod to put in here that could increase my recharge time, but now that I think about it, it's not in here. So here's the sacrifice. It's completely up to you. If you're good at saving energy, you would keep these two on and this. That's if you're good at that. Which in this case, if you are good at it, this is what you're going to do if you want to keep the shields up. Because if you're able to keep the shields up and shields go up fast, then you don't have to worry about elemental damage eating armor. Because then the elemental damage will have to knock down the shields first again before it gets to the armor. So if you're able to keep up your shields at all times, um, it'll be hard for the enemy to kill you. But here's the thing about elemental damage. Elemental damage, once even a small percentage of it get onto you, it starts to wear away at the armor. Eventually, it'll eat the armor completely away over time. So it's not that much about making shields go up fast. It's about making your life expectancy last longer before you die. And enemies could kill you but with bullets before your armor goes completely out and your health goes completely down if you don't can't bring up shields fast enough. But not many people use these mods because not many people are trying to keep up shields at all times. But if you know how to do it, it'll work to your advantage. Where is it? There it is. All right. All right. So this is the all rounder you would go for. Actually, no. This is the all rounder you would go for because we're not talking about fighting enemies beyond level 100. We're talking about fighting enemies from 1 to level 100 enemies or 1 to level 150 enemies. With this, you could fight level 1 to level 150 enemies with no problem. The problem will start to get really greedy when you're fighting level 135 enemies to level 160 enemies. In fact, no, let me correct myself. If you're fighting level 100, I mean level 1 to level 130 enemies, you can use this all-rounder build. But once you go past level 130, it becomes a problem, a big problem. And you'll need a tanky or survival. Just to be on the safe side. Level 1 to level 100, this all-rounder build will work. Anything beyond level 100, whether it's, even if it's 5%, like level 105, it won't work because even 5% more, that means they're doing 5% more damage. It won't work. So from level 1 to level 100, this all-rounder build can take those enemies, no problem. Because this Equinox Warframe casting ability is pretty decent, unless we're talking about the fourth ability, um, which is not something that you will use too often. You use it once, and as long as you have for your fourth ability, as long as your drain isn't higher than a 1, then you should be fine. Um, I don't like that 1.47 because it's 1 energy per second. So if a full minute goes by, it's taking like, if a full minute goes by, which is 60 seconds, it's taking like 60 energy points or 60 energy, which is not something you want anyway. So it really depends on what you're going for. Are you going to have the fourth ability on all the time? No. Are you going to be getting shot at more than normal? Yes. So you'll need your shield to be recharged a lot. Even if you go for cover, there's going to be a guy that's going to probably come around and probably try to one shot you. That's why it's important to regenerate your shields fast. But if you have something like brief reprisal, you don't really need this that much, unless you really are skeptical. Um, so here's another build. If I put this in, then I don't need something like fast deflect on. I don't need that on because I don't have to worry about something like fast deflection. But this is just something that converts 150 energy spent to shields based on, I guess you say 150% of energy spent to shields while Overwatch is active. So if this isn't active, then 150% of energy that you store isn't going to go towards overshields. So I guess if you don't use up enough up to the amount of 150, then the overshields, adding towards overshields, is kind of pointless. But that's something way, so you never have to worry about not using overshields. Um, let's see. And since Equinox is a Warframe, they use energy all the time. It also is, well, this is bad because you don't get to, unless you have something like um, coaction drift added to this. This is kind of pointless. And you want to kill enemies fast. So I guess you can put whatever R you want here, but this is the best setup right here, not including the aura for an all-rounder. And then you put whatever you want in the slot here. You can put whatever you want in your R slot depending on the enemy type. Like say I'm fighting Grineer or um, infested, you put something that reduced their armor. But that's only reduced it by 18. But 18 can be the deciding factor between you surviving longer or you dying quicker. Um, and then your last slot could be whatever you want your slot in. So let's say, for instance, since this is an all-round build, you could then put in your syndicate mods, and the syndicate mods will make you last longer in combat. So this should be the one that you will add in if you're planning on helping other people within your party. Calm and frenzy. That's if you're planning on helping them in party based on um, well, not really. This is more like for something you would do for yourself. So I would say for helping other people, peaceful provocation is better. So for helping other people in mission, peaceful provocation, pacify converts damage done to allies into aura that slows enemies by 40%. Provoke converts damage done to enemies into 15% extra ability strength. So not only does the enemy get slowed, but yourself and your allies get 15% extra ability strength. Um, well, it doesn't say yourself and your allies, but you get 15% ability strength. But your allies, damage done to your allies, slows the enemies that are around them by 40% at least. But I believe that's the peaceful provocation is they also get 15% extra ability strength buff as well. So that's something that um, you should be considering as well if you're interested. So that's all. Um, that's basically the all-rounder kit for Equinox. This seems more like a tank build, like if you want to fight any enemies past level 100. But to be honest with you, if you're going to fight enemies past level 100, you will need something far better than this. You definitely will need a prime sure-footed. You will definitely need something like natural talent. You will need at least 3 other mods to replace the ones that I have here. Um, if you're going for a true tank build. And depending on the type of weapon you're using, you might want to replace the ultimatum with something else. That's what I would say. 3 of these mods, if you're going for a tank build, 3 mods in this section should be replaced. And those 3 would probably be Peaceful Provocation, um, Prime, uh, Prime Continuity, and Fleeting. It depending on your mod build, these are the ones that are going to be replaced. Because if you're not using something that's draining energy per second, you don't need this in. And you don't need this in because this is simply in to counteract this. And you don't need this as well. But every other ones you'll probably need for your survival. So there are 3 mods that you could replace. And depending on your top ones, your aura and your exhumus, you could replace those as well for your tank build. So technically there are 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 mods you replace if you're making a tank build. But if it's not a tank build, it's an all-rounder build, then this is the build. With the exception of corrosive projection, you could put anything in corrosive projection place. But this is the mod, this is the setup you go for defense, for short survival, for assisting other people in the party, for you not dying quickly and easy, um, for you to also always get energy, for you to have extra armor, and I mean I really don't see myself needing adaptation for lower level enemies, but I do know that they will cast elemental damage. I also don't see myself needing armor because 315% armor against strong level 100 enemies is as much of anything. So in a situation like this, I only see having a deflection proves to be more advantageous because if I'm able to recharge my shield fast enough, whatever bullets they're shooting at me will have to then knock down those shields again. And by the time they knock down the shields again, I'll probably be able to kill the enemies before they even hit my armor. So in a situation like this will seems to be more appealing than having steel fibers in. So this is the more appealing all-rounder build for Equinox. And then whatever build you have for your tank, you have this in. Something like Common Frenzy will go for more tank. But for something like this, or not even, you could replace this with piece of provocation. So in a tanky build, then you will want something like a steel fibers in for more armor. But for something like this, from all rounder, I guess you could, if you could find a way to put in, because I'm thinking about it. But and you do really need to cast your energy. I mean your powers multiple times. But you need natural talent more than anything. So for a tank survival, this will work best because every time, like say every 30 seconds, you get energy back or something like that. And then you have this that gives you energy. But based on heavy damage, you'll burn through this quite quickly. So that's where you need something like this. And then you have arcing energize that give you yourself. So something like this is more realistic when it comes to tanky survival against stronger enemies. Natural talent is something you always need when you're fighting higher level enemies. Adaptation is something you always need when you fight higher level enemies. You always need vitality when you're fighting higher level enemies. Everything else beyond that is up to you. Also, flow is something you also need when you're fighting higher level enemies. So this, and this are necessary towards fighting higher level enemies. This, and this are something that you could choose what you want to do. But obviously, when it comes to Equinox, range is also an important factor. So, in a situation where you're fighting high level enemies, it's not really an option to have short range. So, this is also necessary. So, technically, there are three that aren't that necessary. There's, um, or should I say, two that aren't that necessary. There's the peaceful provocation one and the hunter adrenaline one. Now, even though peaceful provocation slows enemies down, are strong, give you health, and this does give you more energy back. This takes a long time to give you energy back, and by that time you might be dead before that 30 seconds or 20 seconds kick in. So you might want to consider that. Um, that that's where the hold. I would say this is where something like fast deflect will then come in because now you have recharge 90% recharge speed. Now you have fast casting abilities. Now you have peaceful provocation in order to slow down enemies by 40%, giving you additional 15% extra strength. Now you have flow on to give yourself all the energy so that if arcing energize does kick in, you get full energy all over again. Now you have adaptation to resist damage for 20 seconds so that you don't die automatically through high elemental damage or high bullet damage. And then even if it managed to hit you with critical hits, it would have to go through your armor first before it goes to your health. But if it's ammo that goes straight towards direct health, that's where this stuff like flow comes in. And if you still have enough flow before you cast your next ability, it'll go to repairing you. And this is going to resist at least 20% of 20 seconds for a while before you actually die out. So if you manage to drop like a health pad before you die out, it will resist that damage for like 20 seconds before you actually die out. So it's essential like to drop a health pad at your feet so that when that 20 seconds does go out and the effect of the element is still lasting, at least now you'll be able to drop your health pads and give yourself health before that happens. So as an all-rounder, this is a better tank build for Equinox. Um, you don't get to do a lot of casting with this ability, but the whole point of this ability is not about casting the fourth ability. It's about casting the third and casting um, the second ability most. So that's what the tank is about. Not about the fourth, about the third and the second. Because with the third and the second, you can have damage multiplier, you can have ability strength. Um, you can also slow the enemies, which based on peaceful provocation, you need. Um, but I guess at the same time, it would be kind of pointless to not use the fourth ability all the time because you always want to keep multiplying your health while you're fighting higher level enemies. But at the same time, it's draining your ability strength. So that's where the issue will come up. Um, if you want to get back energy, there's no arcane for giving you back energy unless you have something like um, an arcane pulse on, but that doesn't give you a lot of energy back. So this is where the issue would come up, where you have something like fleeting fleeting expertise on and streamline on. That way, even let's say even if your shields does go down, you should be able to kill the enemies fast enough. So this makes more logical sense with regards to what's going on for the fourth ability. However, even with this multiplier on, it'll still be at 6. So its drain is 1 second. So it's like it's pointless anyway, no matter how you look at it. In my mind, it doesn't seem to add up unless you find a way to always constantly keep getting the more health that's higher than that, which is not going to work out the way you want it to. That's why I believe having more armor, more health on, and adaptation is necessary. And to replace this, I mean, if you don't want to put on more armor, like here, I suggest putting on Arcane Pulse. But the thing is, why I lean more towards fast deflect is because you can pull up your shields fast enough in order to deal with any enemy that's trying to one-shot you. If you're fast enough to pull up your shields, or if your shields is fast enough to recharge and go up before you go down. Um, Fortitude. Where's Fortitude? Like if your shields are fast enough to go up before they go down, like say 80% shield recharge, 90% shield recharge. Um, if you have both of these on, your shield will start to regenerate the moment it goes down. Like 1 second later, it goes right back up again, like almost instantaneously. So you don't have to worry about bullets. Elemental damage is the thing that you will have to worry about. Um, and efficiency towards casting your abilities is the thing you're going to have to worry about. Um, not so much casting. Well, I guess you could say casting speed as well. Because if you're not fast enough, you could die anyway. So let's see. 20 seconds, 20 seconds. Not bad with the energy spent. Obviously, this will be at 3.5, which isn't good whatsoever at all. Um, but we're not depending on this for health. We're depending on fast, flex, and fortitude so that we don't have to worry about anyone eating our health as well as this. So the fourth ability is pointless in this situation. So this is more like the tanky build that you will go for, and then you will beta test it. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, you remove these two and you put in the ones I had before. You put these in because then you'll be able to use the fourth ability to get a little bit of health back. So if you're not going to use the recharging your shields, because the shields is real shitty, it's 280, then use this setup. But if you're not going to use the fourth ability, then you don't need that setup. You need something more like something that can pull up your shields fast, and something that assists towards your knockdown. Like say for instance, if you're not using prime sure-footed, you should at least be able to resist 20% knockdown capabilities. Um, let's see. And if you're not going to use Vigilant Pursuit, you got to use Prime Sure-Footed. That's where the whole thing comes in. This is 100. This is, well, if you have Prime Sure-Footed on, then this is pointless. Um, but this is about shield recharge, not about knockdown. So let's say, let's see here. Okay, so if I add something like this, 15% ability strength plus knockdown. So 30 plus 20, that's 50% chance for resist knockdown. That's kind of good. But I don't need power strength. Yeah, so that's the best one. That's the best one. Um, Makes the most sense. Actually, that's not the best one. What am I talking about? Okay, so you have, okay, so this. You have energy here to give yourself energy. Then you have shields to give yourself more shields. Well, at least shields recharge. And then you have energy to give yourself more energy. So energy, energy, and energy, 3. And then you have at least 80% shields plus 20% knockdown, which is good. And then this gives you more overshields added. And last but not least, you put the prime sure-footed in here. So this to me is the best build for a tanky build, because you, even if you're totally depleted of energy, you'll get some back with Hunter Adrenaline. And as long as you have natural talent on, you'll be able to cast your ability fast and do things fast. And the duration isn't lower, and your efficiency isn't lower, and you have arcane energize to give yourself back energy as well. So you're not worrying about spending or wasting energy, and you're not using your fourth ability, so you're not burning through energy per the second. You're only using a second and your third. And the first ability doesn't take up a lot of energy whatsoever at all to cast. You just cast it once, and then you leave it there for 26 seconds, and then you're able to use um, your second and your third. So this this takes up 25, this takes up 25, that's 50, and then this takes up 10. So if you were to do this ability again, it takes up another 25, another 25, that's another 50, another 10. So all in all, you already get 120 NG taken up out of 150. So you have just 30% NG left over. And during this time, brief respite will kick in at least once every time you cast all of your abilities. Um, to be honest with you, I prefer him having like more energy, be able to cast this ability a hell of a lot more. That's why the things within Warframe are so detailed and are so essential, and it's so important because when you're under heavy fire, you have to consider everything. And if you don't consider everything, then you're going to die a lot. So you don't really need this. This is more for like when you're with allies. This is more logical when you're by yourself. So now your efficiency here is 10. This is 10, and this is 4. That's perfect because now you can cast your abilities multiple times, and you will always get energy back. You'll have a decent amount of armor, decent amount of health. You resist 20% of damage. You have flow on. You have more energy. The only drawback is that you don't have you can't pull up your shields fast enough to deal with an enemy that's shooting at you. So that's the only thing. But that's why you have this for, to resist the damage that will kill you, and why you have this for as well. And then your last but not least will be obviously your knockdown, because you don't want to be knocked down. So you need prime sure-footed. So that's something for the tank itself, for just a tank. This is the my best bet build for a tank. If you're not running with a group of people, if you are running with a group of people, like you put prime sure-footed here in the slot at the top. This one right here goes right here. As long as you have these mods, you're fine. But if you're running with someone or running with people and you're trying to help them out, and you're going to be casting multiple times in order to up their abilities, you're obviously going to still want these on. But you're going to have to probably take off your natural talent in that case, because it's not really about um, you surviving based on how fast you're killing. You now have people to support you, so you don't have to worry too much about being under fire as much. So now it's more about having that assistance. So now you could put in something like peaceful provocation in here, and you don't have to worry too much. And obviously your aura, you still want the same thing for your aura. You still want brief respite for your aura, or if the case is that you're running with other people, you always want to keep giving them health back in return. So your aura should be team health. So that's something right there. And then once you have this with a team and you have this set up, then you can put in something like a peaceful provocation in. So as a team effort thing, peaceful provocation works. And it's a team aura that works. So this is best for when you're with a team. Here, when you're by yourself, it's a different story. You have resp, brief respite in, and then you have um, prime sure-footed here, and then you have natural talent here. But if you're running with a group of people, you just put peaceful provocation in here, rejuvenation here, and then prime sure-footed here. So that's the difference when you're doing solo runs and when you're doing group tank runs. You need to consider your party as well. It's not just about you. But if it really is about you and you only care about killing, if I kill the enemy fast enough, then I'm actually helping the team. If that's your mentality, that I'm killing the enemies fast enough, that means that's the reason why we're surviving longer. It's not about health returns. Then by all means use the method I had in before, or the mod setup that I had in before, which is natural talent, brief respite, and of course prime sure-footed. So this is an all-round that works for both solo as well as for group. If you're not concerned about giving health back to your teammates, this is for more like for tank. These builds right here. This is tank. This, however, is all-rounder. You have it as an all-rounder. You help people, they help you, you survive longer, but not so much against the real tough boys. But then I would suggest to always test this out, regardless of what enemy you're going to be fighting, regardless of what enemy you're going to fight. Test this out anyway. So what I'll do is I'll test it out twice, both builds, both all-rounder build and both the tank build. And that's going to be it for today. I'm probably going to do a couple of dailies, but for right now I'm just testing these guys because this is not even maxed out Warframe yet. It's at 28. But this is the test I'm going to go for today. Alright, so keep it quiet and just keep moving, and then I'll do some dailies. First, I'll probably say I'm hosting. Yeah, so now I'm just going to play the game. Before I was just talking about the builds, now I'm just going to play the game. So I'll cut my mic and just play as I normally would.
enemy is at our doorstep. You must defend our equipment until reinforcements arrive. Reinforcements are inbound. Hold the line. Very impressive, Tenno. You held them all back. Time to get out of here.
You come back again soon. Job board's filling up, off-worlder. Help Kanzu clear the slate, eh?
It sounded like you, Uncle. Isn't that strange? Isn't that strange?
Job